NOLA.com. Larry Holder, Jeff Duncan here with you at the Mercedes-Benz Superdome as the Saints fall to 0-2 with, I would say, one of the more disappointing losses we've seen in a long time in this building and throughout the Saints as the Saints go down to Tampa Bay 26-19. Where do we begin? It seems like there are so many problems with this team. Defense looked good at times, but not good enough at times. And then overall, you point to coaching, you can point to the offense, you can point to special teams. It all looked like a mess, and I don't know when it's going to get fixed, honestly.
Right, and you look ahead at the schedule, the immediate schedule, it's probably the toughest early stretch they have. I mean, they have to go to Carolina, then come back here against Dallas, and then go on the road to Philadelphia, 3 playoff caliber teams. And the Saints just lost at home to one of the worst teams in football.
Right.
And really should never even been in the game in the fourth quarter. I mean, Tampa Bay let them back in this game.
They looked like Tampa Bay.
Right.
And they let them back in, and the Saints could not capitalize.
And there were times when Tampa Bay looked like clearly the better team. I mean,
right.
Tampa Bay's defense really controlled the Saints' offense. And we're so used in this building to seeing the Saints dictate terms and really get teams back on their heels. And they talked about that all week, right? They talked about coming out being, right away putting the other team on their heels and being aggressive offensively. And even Drew Brees afterwards talked about it. They just can't. They don't know what the answers are right now, and that's the most troubling thing. And you and I both talked about this. Drew Brees was as down as I've ever seen him after a game.
Right.
And that's a little got to be a little disillusioning for Saints fans, I think, to see the leader of the team, leader of the organization, dejected the way he was.
Well, it's a breath kind of a fresh air because he's always this optimistic guy. I think he knows, even though he says, look, the level of, I guess, discomfort and the level of uncertainty with this team, he says it's not high, but look, I think it's all over his face. It's there. Right. And who knows how healthy he is anymore. Look, he talked about how he got hit tonight on the shoulder. Certainly affected him. He admitted that. Then he went into further detail talking about how, and it's been the storyline surrounding him, the shoulder hindered him last year. Mm-hmm. That hit and playing through that is not going to help him get any better. And he simply said, I just need to get stronger. Well, you're 36, going on 37. How is that going to happen? So if he's not right, and it's something you've kind of been alluding to throughout this offseason, that something's not right with Drew, how far then can this team go? And I think we're starting to see it. They're not going to be able to go very far if Drew can't be right.
And it almost seemed like that's what you could read between the lines in Brees' comments afterwards. I mean, the deep passing game and the big play attack that we're so used to seeing is non-existent with this offense.
Right.
And opposing teams know it. They're cheating up to the line of scrimmage. They can't run the ball because no one fears that anybody's going to go deep like they used to in those glory days when Devery Henderson and Robert Meacham were lighting up the opposing defense. That's just not happening, and we saw it happen today. It was really eye-opening when Brandon Cooks got behind the secondary and Brees woefully underthrew a deep ball. And that was a momentum killer because they'd just gotten a turnover. So, when Drew Brees is one of the problems, or at least is something of a problem, the Saints are in trouble because they have so many other areas that they also have to fix that he was able to overcome in the past.
Well, Drew Brees doesn't become the problem if he's not getting hit, and he was getting hit left and right. And look, Gerald McCoy is a beast. We all know that. And in this building last year, Gerald McCoy had a very good game, and he was able to kind of navigate. He did not play well in that game either,
right,
and was able to navigate and still help the Saints win. And yet, the offensive line, certainly an issue, probably one of the more ineffective games we've seen in a long time from, say, a Zach Strief. And, of course, McCoy is going to give anybody fits. But, yeah, offense, if that can't get going, this team is sunk because defensively – we're not going to see what we saw out there tonight consistently, creating turnovers, giving opportunities. That's just not going to be there all the time.
Right.
So it's, I don't know, we put our hands in the air and do shruggy guy like if you're texting or whatever. But I don't know where this stops. Maybe Dallas because Tony Romo just got hurt.
That's the best.
Maybe, but and then Philadelphia, they're dropping to 0-2 and losing the games.
And we even talked about special teams. I mean, Zach Cocker had been well all preseason, and he was a disaster out there today. And Murphy was shaky on punt returns.
And even Morstead shanked a punt.
Yeah, it was bad. There's no way we can sugarcoat that loss. I guess the best thing we could say is I don't know if it can get much worse than that. And so the Saints have to regroup. The leadership in the locker room is going to be challenged this week. And they've got to somehow get it together because they're going to have to go to Carolina. And Carolina, of course, now I think it's 2-0, right?
2-0.
So 2-0. It's not going to get any easier.
And Luke Kuechly might be back next week for Carolina as well. And, of course, he's one of the best players in the league. So who knows where the Saints team goes from here. All I know is they're 0-2 for the third time in the last 4 years. And the Bucs broke a 7-game losing streak to the Saints by winning here this afternoon. So tough sledding for these guys going forward.
Yeah, and we'll see how they respond because that's always the mark of this team in the past is they have responded. They may not win the next game, but they come out and play a lot better. What we saw today was just poor execution all the way around, and also I thought some bad body language, and that I think also disappointed the fans. You could sense already getting boos here in the first home game. This thing could get ugly before it gets better.
Yep, who knows? We'll see. So for Larry Holder, Jeff Duncan, thanks for joining us here at NOLA.com, and check out all of our coverage all week going forward, and, of course, into the Carolina game at Bank of America Stadium. Check it out all at NOLA.com. Thanks for joining us.